All right, I'm going to say this a second time. You might have seen my mouth moving. What I said when my mouth was moving, every time I'm my own engineer, I managed to mess something up. So we got to the end of that stretch thing. We're ready to go, and then I didn't turn my microphone on, so we're going to be ready to go a second time. So, hey, welcome to Stretched. I'm Phil. You can tell that my other Phil is not here, but you know what? That's actually pretty socially responsible of us. We're trying our best to maintain some social distancing, and we're working hard in order to give you the best quality of our podcast. And so we're still working through all the glitches for us to have him where he is, we where we are, and be able to give you the best of both of us doing the things we're doing. And so as soon as we figure out how to make sure we're giving you the best quality possible with that, Phil's going to be back with us doing the things that he's doing. And so we appreciate the work that he's doing, what he's got going on. So glad you could join us. This is Stretched. And this is just a ministry of Center Point. It's been going on. I think this is episode 19. So we're getting our way, getting our feet wet. We're about to get into the 20s and figuring out what we're doing. And we shouldn't be making mistakes like this anymore. But let me give a couple of shout outs before we get going too far. I want to remind you that we are doing church completely online. Church online is every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. We're going to be doing some special stuff this week. I really am looking forward to the way that we're going to be working things this week. We're going to be working on that sound issue. I know last week when we did announcements, the sound was really wonky, and we did the baby dedication, the sound was really low, and so I know some of you were frustrated by that. If you managed to make it through the announcements and the baby dedication, the worship team was playing loud and we could hear them, and the sermon was good where you could hear it. But this week it should be 100% all clear, ready to go, and we're going to make sure that that's good for you so that you can enjoy the worship experience that's going to be ahead for you. One of the reasons things are a little off here, I want to give a shout out to our engineer, John Harris, and his family. God has called them to Ohio. It's something we knew was coming. I told him I was going to be praying that God would keep him here, and we got this close to a complete lockdown so that he'd have to stay and do our podcast some more. But we really don't want that. We really want what's best for their family. And so yesterday they actually left. He gave me a text last night at like 11 o'clock at night saying they had arrived in their destination. And I know that they've got a lot going on for them. So pray for them. It just means that we're in a place where we're going through fixing new engineers. My plan was to have my kids, who are now social distancing and learning from home, to be my engineers. But it just seems so cruel to get them up this early in the morning and have them do some engineering stuff. So they're going to keep their grades up, and if they don't, bam, it's back to the salt mines, and they're going to be running engineering stuff for me. So I'm just glad that you're here with us. This is going to be an interesting week. I know we've talked about a lot of other things on the church's page, and at the end we're going to talk a little bit about what the church has to offer for you and how the church can help you with some of the things that are going on. But I want to pull up our Facebook question of the day, because I kind of am in a pet peeve area with some of these things, especially some of these social media things that are going on. So our Facebook question of the day is, how have you made lemonade out of lemons over this last week? All right, I want to hear some of your great stories about how things are awkward, things are odd, things are not like they should be. How are you coping with the being at home? And this is kind of what set me off over the last couple of weeks is you're seeing a lot of people talking about it, whether it's on the news or whether it's on your social media or just talking with people about how disastrous things are wherever they are. Their kids have only been home from school for a couple of weeks and I mean a couple of days, and we're pulling our hair out and we're screaming and we're yelling and man, our teachers are working so hard, and this idea about how we talk about how so difficult it is for us to spend some time with our kids and be a part of educating our kids is something that I really want us to, as Christians, be able to look at and judge and ask ourselves, are we presenting the sort of front that we want to a world out there? Remember, in Stretch, we're trying to balance who are we as people of faith with who are we as people in our community. And when we perpetuate this idea that, oh man, I can't stand being in a house with my kids for this long, or it's so tough, are we really pushing the message that we want to push as Christians? Are we really sharing the things we want to share? Now, once again, I've talked before, I'm more introverted than I am extroverted, so I know it's a little more comfortable for me to be inside these four walls than some people that aren't. But once again, when I'm outside the four walls, I at the same time am being encouraged by the people that love me, make sure when I speak about being in social situations that I'm talking about it in the positive way. I'm promoting it in the church in a positive way, that I should be, not in the way that reflects how my personality may conflict with some of those things. And so I want us to look at a little bit of that today. Now, let me tell you a little of our story. Kim has taught school nearly the entire life of our kids. When our kids were really little, we were blessed to be able to have her at home and be able to watch the kids. So none of our kids we had to put in permanent daycare and do that, because she was able to stay home and watch them and take care of them. But she still pursued her education stuff. And so she taught in the school districts and in the schools where our kids actually went. And that was a huge blessing for us. But there was a year, Tate's sophomore year, Cambry's freshman year, where we traveled and did ministry for a year. What? She was in 8th grade. They're not 1 year apart. They're 2 years apart. I'm going to make her the producer. She's gonna be back here, which she could be. She's got time to do that. But we homeschooled for a year, and I think a lot of us, had this impression of homeschoolers, before all this stuff happened, where you're like, homeschool people, they might be a little awkward, a little weird. All right. I don't want to hurt your feelings, but you homeschoolers know that too. I mean, we go and we hear your jokes and your posts and all that stuff, and you talk about it's a different world. The homeschool world is a different world than kids that are growing up in the public school system. And we look at that homeschooling world, and all of a sudden, all of us are kind of thrust into that world. And as Christians, I think we have to ask ourselves, what is the value of us having our children at home, us educating our children ourselves, and us instilling our values with our kids? I mean, one of the things when we homeschooled our kids were getting practical application. I mean, they were getting deep stuff. I was teaching the maths and science, and Kim was doing the histories and the English, and we were digging in deep. They were reading more books than they do in school. They were reading more complex things than they were doing in school. They were working harder math problems and science problems, but we were also doing it more practically. I mean, we were going to the locations that were near us. Once again, we were blessed to be driving around the country, and so every time we showed up at a historical place, we were able to go there, teach lessons about it, learn things about it. We were able to make their education not just something that was out in the ether, but something that was very practical to them, that they could see and touch and smell and feel. And don't do that now, you're coronavirusy, but you know how that we were able to do that, and it gave us a new perspective on this idea of homeschooling. And I talk about that because we live in a country today where so much of our parental responsibility, our family responsibility, we've actually ceded over to the government. And I told you I don't like talking a ton about politics, but I do think at this time we need to talk some about what control we have of our lives, what we are supposed to do with our lives. We've been wanting so long for government to do everything for us. Hey, government, raise my kids, educate my kids. Government, take care of my needs, make sure things are where they need to be. And at a time like this, we realize how limited the government is to handle all the problems that are going out there. And if we have built up in our kids the only way for them to get educated, the only way for us to survive, the only way for us to make it is for us to have some sort of socialized government thing come and lead it through the school system or through other systems, we quickly find ourselves ill-equipped to be at home and raise our kids. And so every time I see a Christian person talking about or joking about how rough it is to be stuck at home with these little monsters, and I've already sent them to the principal 5 times, and 2 of my kids have been suspended already, it breaks my heart a little bit, because as Christians, we should be the exact opposite. We should be saying, man, this is a tremendous opportunity I have to be a part of my kids' education. One of the things that I value a lot in the homeschooling world, but not just the homeschooling, maybe the way that things used to be. Our school system is very much geared toward let's make our kids realize their expectation is college or bust. If they don't make it into college, then they're not really successful in what they're doing. And there are so many jobs out there today. I mean, we're talking about it right now. Who's an essential employee now? Is the essential employee the person that's gone and gotten, I'm going to offend my wife, that English degree or something like that, or is the now she's essential because she's also working in the medical field, or is your essential employee the person that's driving the truck that's bringing your toilet paper to your local grocery stores, the essential person, the people that are out there that are working on the front lines. A lot of our essential people, if you go look through that essential people list, you think about your garbage collectors and the people that are having to be out there day after day, the people that are cleaning these buildings and sanitizing these buildings. All right, you understand these are people that just want to go out there and work. And here's how it used to work. We got to a certain age and we realized, and it was somewhere around your early teens, 13, 14, something like that, where we said, hey, you have an academic path for you to run, or hey, you need to learn a skill. And our country was all about people learning a skill. I mean, I remember one of the books I remember reading was Johnny Tremaine. It was a guy a little boy during colonial times that ended up becoming an intern for a local silversmith, and he was learning how to work silversmith. And here's the deal: we would take these awesome people in our society that we knew were going to contribute in these physical areas, these crafts and trade areas, and we brought them to people that were masters of their craft, masters of their trade, and they would do their work. They would often live there. They would learn all the different parts of the trade, whether it was being a tailor or being a carpenter. They would learn all these parts of the trade. They would follow the master around. They would begin to work on some of the smaller things and then work on the bigger things. But more importantly, they would travel with the master, and they would go and visit clients. They would visit other people that were going to be paying them to do the things that they do. And they would learn how their actions and their behaviors reflected on the business that they were doing. If a young person were to become intemperate and go out and get drunk and cause problems in town, guess who that looked poorly on? It looked poorly on the person that had brought them in, that was training them, that was teaching them. And so as they were learning, they were not only learning a skill or a trade that would make them useful to society, they were actually learning values and ethics from a person in the community that knew the value of having a good name and a good reputation in a town. But we don't do that anymore. Our schools really aren't equipped, and I really don't want our schools teaching values. They actually do. If you go to our schools, they teach very secular humanist values to our kids. They're trying to teach our kids these values that are separate from God, which is bizarre to me how you get values as a secular humanist. But we're teaching these sort of secular humanist values, but we're not really doing value education in our kids. I'll tell a brief story. There was once a family, their kids, multiple kids, had gotten in trouble at school and been suspended. And the parents brought me in. They said, "Pastor, you need to do something to fix these kids." And I asked, well, what are they getting in trouble for? And they were getting in trouble for something that the parents were actively doing. I think it was swearing a lot in school or something. And they were getting in trouble for doing something the parents were actively doing. And the parents told me, we can't fix it in them. We are too old to change our ways, and we're going to keep doing it, but we need you to teach them that it's wrong for them to do it. And do you see the problem? They wanted somebody else to come in and teach values to their kids, while every day in every situation, they were training them with different values. You see, the values we instill in our kids, the values that we demonstrate at home, the values that we demonstrate where we are, those are the things that eventually people are going to look at, our kids are going to look at and say, that's what I need to be. So if you want your daughters to go find great men to marry, you have to be a great husband, men. And if you want your sons to go and find virtuous women, moms, we have to be virtuous mothers. We have to demonstrate that in the home. We have to be those sort of people. And so I don't want my kids, going online and looking on Facebook or Twitter or wherever and saying, "Oh man, my dad's been complaining about how awful we are at home. My dad's been complaining that we have to be going to the principal's office again because it was so bad." I want my kids to go on there and to see that I'm lifting them up and praising them. What awesome kids we have. We've been having a blast this week. Our kids have regular school time. They're doing their work. I'm able to see what they're doing, able to help them with their math and their science, and I can do some English when I need to, and help them with those things. We're able to work on it together. But then when we get done, we're able to sit around and learn in other ways. I play games with my kids, and I know a lot of you have seen me playing games with my kids. Let me tell you something about that. I play games where the kids have to learn reasoning skills. They have to learn negotiation skills. They have to learn how to do math and some of these skills. They learn geography. Maybe we'll play the train game later where they have to learn where things are in the United States. They learn that from playing a game. That's how I learned geography. I learned world geography by playing a lot of games that we played. And so we pick up on these things. We learn these things together, and we have a great time doing it, and we're instilling values. We're teaching them work ethic. We're helping them to see where they can find the joy and where they need to work on things in their lives. And so I want to encourage you to make sure that's a part of what's going on in your kid's life. So I'm going to pull out the verse of the day. All right. I'm going to do a couple things. All right. So the verse of the day didn't fit all on one slide. So I put on there Deuteronomy 8:11 through 14, but I'm going to get my phone out. I do my Bible on my phone. I had saw somewhere on Facebook where somebody said, "Hey, if you're going to do church online, make sure you have your actual Bible." Well, my phone, for the most part, is my actual Bible. I can actually see a ton of different translations. I can look at them side by side, and so I like to use that as my go-to Bible when I'm studying, so that I can see so many things at once. But let's go ahead and read this. This is Deuteronomy chapter 8. This is during the part of Deuteronomy where the Israelites have left Egypt, and we're kind of learning some of the rules that God has for them. So he says, "Be careful that you don't forget the Lord your God by failing to keep his commands, ordinances, and statutes that I'm giving you today." This is where I'm talking about that moral education. We give these to our kids. We teach our kids the importance of being close to God, the importance of following and obeying God. "When you eat and are full and build beautiful houses to live in, and your herds and flocks grow large, and your silver and gold multiply, and everything else you have increases, be careful that your heart doesn't become proud, and you forget the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the place of slavery." Now, that's up to verse 14, but we're going to read some more in just a minute. But I want you to think about that. Our country was founded by people that looked at the Judeo-Christian values of their ancestors and said, "This is what we need to establish a country on, a country that is established on these principles of morals and ethics and values and these unalienable rights." And our world was founded on that, and it has been marvelously successful. I would contend even greater than the people that wrote the Constitution could have imagined. The United States of America is the most prosperous, the greatest engine for good that the world has ever seen as far as nation states go. The amount of prosperity, the amount of care and help, what we have done to elevate the situation of all people on the planet has never been greater than what the United States of America has contributed. And I believe that with all my heart. And you would be hard pressed to find anybody that could show you a country that has done more to increase the prosperity, the health, the happiness of the world than the United States of America. Us having this great experiment of capitalism that has flown all over. And I am not a capitalism hater. If you actually look at the actual results of what capitalism does around the world, how many people have been brought up out of poverty because of it. All those other arguments that you hear people that are socialists that are talking about, you're going to soon see that those arguments don't hold any water to what that engine of you having the responsibility for your life, you having the ability to own your own property, you having the ability to make it in this world yourself. Nobody else is going to do it for you. You're going to find that is a tremendous, tremendous thing. But here's what God told the Israelites. He said, "You're leaving slavery. You're leaving this place where you didn't have rights to your own wealth, rights to your own property. You didn't have the right to make your own way in this world, and you're going to go into a place where all of a sudden you are, and you're going to become fabulously wealthy. And he said, be careful, because when that happens, you may forget who God is. And if you look at the United States of America, I think it's very easy to tell that as a country, we have become fabulously wealthy, but we have also begun to forget who God is. Not in every part of the country and not with every person, but as a country, by and large, we have pushed God out of our society. We have pushed that idea of faith and morals out of our society, that Judeo-Christian backbone that really helped capitalism be a good. As we begin to push it out, we begin to turn it into something that it wasn't designed to be. And we allow other things to come in and take and pervert what should be a place of freedom, a place of liberty, a place of happiness, and it's becoming something else. And so we live in a world today where people are taking advantage of that wealth in order to actually squash and crush that Judeo-Christian value, that Judeo-Christian mindset, and a lot of it is coming from people that are coming from traditionally religious families. But as they begin to reject God, they begin to embrace the wealth, they begin to embrace the money of this world, and I think the warning that God gave to the nation of Israel is playing true in many people's lives. So in verse 15, so there's not a slide for verse 15, but if you keep going in verse 15, it says, he led you through great and terrible wilderness with its poisonous snakes and scorpions, a thirsty land where there was no water. He brought water out of the flint rock for you. He fed you in the wilderness with manna, which your ancestors had not known, in order to humble and test you, so that in the end he might cause you to prosper. You may say to yourself, my power and my own ability have gained me this wealth for me. But remember that the Lord your God gives you the power to gain wealth in order to confirm his covenant he swore to your ancestor, as it is today. And look at that condemnation there in verse 17. He says, you may say to yourself, my power and my own ability have gained this wealth for me. Now, there are some today that use that to say, yeah, you didn't get that power and wealth on your own. You got it because of all the people around you. Therefore, we're going to take away from you and we're going to give it to people around you. That is not what this passage is saying. This passage is saying we can't survive without God. We can't survive without God moving in our lives and impacting the things that we're doing. It's important for us to follow and obey and hear from God. We can't prosper without him. And even in this time right now, when there are troubles and there's trials and there are things that are going on, guess what? Now more than ever, we need to trust in God. Now more than ever, we need to rely on God. Now more than ever, we need to look to a Savior, look to a Lord that's going to deliver us, look to a Lord that's going to provide us the answers that we need in order to survive in this world. God is out there, and God is wanting to move and work in this time, especially in this time of trouble. God cares about us. The Bible tells us that God cares deeply about us. And God is the great physician. And as the great physician, that means God wants to bring healing into our lives, but not just physical healing, spiritual healing and emotional healing and so many other things. And so I want those of you that are staying at home, Christians that are raising your kids, I want you to know this is your time. This is your time to remember God. And so when we think of all the things we're giving up, I'm giving up my sports. I love my sports team. I'm giving up my events that I was going. I'm giving up my vacation. I'm giving up. And we think about all the things we're giving up. It's like, did you have to give up God? Is God still in control? Does God love you? Does God care? The answer is yes. Drive yourself closer to God. Don't talk to your kids about all the things they're missing. Talk to your kids about the things they're gaining, the opportunities to learn from home and to learn new things. Maybe to learn and build up their moral character and their standing. Learn to become greater than they're ever going to learn to be at school. Because you're going to teach them not just the facts of history, but you're going to teach them the whys of history. You're going to teach them how an all-loving God was moving in the lives and the hearts of those that have gone throughout history. You're going to be able to teach them deep down inside the values that make all those other things important. I mean, everything is important. You go and study your science and math, and guess what? There's values in science and math. All right. Now more than ever, we're learning the values that the people have in order to be working on, solutions for these viruses and working on ways to help us. Do you want to know who's putting all the stuff together to make sure that masks and gowns get where they need to be? It's somebody that studied statistics their whole life. It's somebody that understands how the flow of stuff works. What I love now, people keep showing graphs like, can you imagine, look at how this stuff is growing. You know what that is? That's exponents. All of you that ever said, when am I ever going to use this in the real world? And you're watching a chart to say, when am I going to get to go back to work? And you're seeing this exponential growth and you're asking yourself, how is this going to keep going? What's going to be happening with this? It's all part of our value system. When we learn what's important for us, we can look at the things that are going in this world and not treat it flippantly, but treat it with the respect it deserves, but not give it power over us to make us something different than we are. So the question just keeps coming back to, what are you doing? Are you constantly complaining, look at all the lemons around me? Or are you making lemonade out of something? So I know it may be hard for some of you. So we're trying to do some things to make it easier for you. All right. And there's not a lot I can do. I mean, I'm stuck here. I'm hoping that some of you church members will be able to get some group conferencing going just so you can see some people computer screen to computer screen. We're trying to get some of that stuff running. It just takes a little bit to get it up and running and moving. But we're doing some other things. Every day we're putting out new content on the YouTube channel. So you're watching this on the YouTube channel. So right below, there's a place where it says subscribe. If it's in past tense, subscribed, it means you've already done that, and that's great. Next to that, there's a little bell. If you click that bell, and there's a place that says all, it'll give you notifications. Every time we do something on YouTube, bing, it'll pop up and let you know it's happening. Now, some of you may have turned your notifications off because you have a bunch of games or something on your computer that keep giving you notifications. All right, take the time and click all those notifications off personally, but leave that YouTube notification on so it'll let you know when new stuff gets posted. Every day I'm trying to post some spiritual content. So we've got 2 Bible studies that are running right now, plus our stretched. One of our Bible studies is called Bible for My Generation. This is a Bible study where I am intentionally trying to do a Bible study for our senior adults. So it is going to be more geared towards them. I'm not going to be doing as many flamboyant things. I'm actually dressing up in a suit and tie in order to let them know this is a serious thing that we're having this Bible study. And we're going through the Sermon on the Mount right now, and we're going to be doing that Bible study. Hopefully you can send that Bible study to your favorite senior adult wherever they are, but any of you can watch it. It'd be good for any of you. But really it was designed to get into our nursing homes where they can't do regular Bible content. If you're following Kim on Facebook, you've probably seen that her work is already using that, and they actually posted a picture of one of their members going through Bible for My Generation. And so we're trying to put up a Bible for My Generation. Now we're really trying to do one twice a week. We started another series called Hidden Bible Stories. And I love the Hidden Bible Stories one. Kim suggested this one to me, and I'm like, oh, that's great. I love that. Hidden Bible Stories kind of came out of 2 different sermons I preached. I preached 2 different sermons. And those of you that know when I'm preaching or watch me, I have the outline. I've gone through, this is what I'm preaching on, but every once in a while God inspires me and I throw some stuff in. It could be a joke, it could be something that makes my wife roll her eyes, or in these 2 cases it was scripture stories that related to what we were doing, and as I'm preaching, like, hey, this story would fit in real good, so my brain's always racing, and I threw it in. And this week we did Balaam's donkey, and I had thrown Balaam's donkey in. If you don't know the story of Balaam's donkey, Balaam is a prophet that was told to come and curse Israel. God said, I'm not going to let you curse Israel. He was going there anyways, and so God sent an invisible angel to attack him on the way, and Balaam's donkey kept avoiding the angel, to the point where the donkey got so mad, God allowed the donkey to actually talk to Balaam. And so here Balaam is talking to his donkey on the side of the road. And I think it's a humorous story to think all the Disney shows where princesses are talking to animals, and here Balaam is talking to his donkey, and they're having an actual conversation about what God is doing. And somebody came up to my wife and said, that can't be real. And she's like, well, yeah, let me show you. So So a couple times a week, we're going to be doing a hidden Bible story where I take a story, maybe something that's obscure enough that I'm not going to preach about it every Sunday, but something that would be a fun story. It's going to be mostly reading the passage, not a lot of extra comment. There'll be some comments on it, but it's going to be reading a passage, sharing it with you, letting you know a little bit about it, and it'll be a fun way to learn some deeper stories about the Bible. And I want to encourage you to follow that. And so those are going to be going on. Stretch is going to be going on. We'll have something going on, and then we also have what we're calling social distancing with Centerpoint, and that actually is just a fun channel. My kids and I are trying to do something fun every single day. I don't think we posted something fun yesterday. We did do some filming on stuff, but it was actually for a contest for something else. We filmed it and submitted it, and we didn't want to post that until the contest was over because we didn't want to spoil the fun of whatever else was going. And so we do have some content that's coming up. Watch Tate solving Rubik's cubes, twisty puzzles. I think because Rubik's cube is patented or what, I don't know. And Kim is going to solve one at the end, so you're going to want to watch that. And please comment about Kim solving her super complicated Rubik's cube, because I really want to see how you guys respond to her solving her Rubik's cube. So go find those, watch those. Social distance. This is the way we're making lemonade out of lemons. We're taking the time we have. We study in the morning and we shoot fun videos in the afternoon. And while the kids are studying, I'm trying to do Bible videos. So this is a part of that. I want to encourage you to be a part of that. I'm looking around. I don't have my producer anymore, so I got to find the time myself. And so I just really love being a part of what God's doing with you. I want to encourage you to worship with us online. I'm throwing this up again just so you can remember, worship online, 10 o'clock. When you're worshiping with us, you can follow us in the singing and all the things that are going on, and God's going to be doing some great things with us. I look forward to seeing what God's doing in your life. Comment below the way that you're making lemonade out of the lemons today, and I really look forward to hearing from you. All right, God bless you all, and we will see you soon.